The grand assembly hall of Station Harmony buzzed with the sounds of 100 different species. Derek Walsh watched from the human delegation seats as another war beast entered the presentation arena. This one belonged to the Thurian Empire, and it was a monster. The creature stood 12 feet tall with scales that looked like polished obsidian. Its claws scraped against the reinforced floor, leaving visible marks. The Thurians called it a Titan Claw, and everyone in the room could see why. High Chancellor Bront, the massive reptilian leader of the Thurians, gestured proudly as his beast snarled at the assembled delegates. "This is our finest achievement," Bront announced through the translation device hanging in the air. "Bred for 20 generations. Armor that deflects plasma fire. Strength to tear through blast doors. Perfect obedience through neural conditioning." Derek glanced at Ambassador Yuki Tanaka, sitting beside him. She kept her expression neutral, but he caught the slight smile at the corner of her mouth. They both knew what was coming. They had reviewed the presentation files a dozen times during the journey to the station. The War Beast Summit happened every 50 cycles. Every species in the Galactic Council had to present their most dangerous combat creature. It was part tradition, part military assessment, part cultural measuring contest. Species showed off what made them feared, what made them strong, what made them dangerous to cross. The Quilla Collective went next. Minister Quilsa, a mantis-like being with 4 arms and compound eyes, presented their warrior drones. The creatures moved in perfect synchronization, a hive mind directed by pheromone signals. They demonstrated attack patterns that would make any military strategist nervous. Each drone was expendable. Each drone was replaceable. Together, they were overwhelming. "Our drones feel no fear," Quilsa explained. "No hesitation. No mercy. They're the perfect soldiers." More species followed. The Vreln showed off stealth predators that could become nearly invisible. The Corvith brought scavenger beasts that could survive in any environment and eat anything organic. The Morvine cluster, usually quiet and peaceful, surprised everyone with venomous creatures that could paralyze victims with a single sting. Derek noticed the pattern. Every species brought something terrifying, something that screamed danger, something that made you want to back away slowly and never turn your back on it. Between presentations, delegates mingled. Derek overheard conversations in a dozen languages, all filtered through translation tech. "The humans are death worlders," someone said. "Their planet is classified extreme hazard. Whatever they bring will be horrifying. I heard their world has predators that hunt in packs," another voice added, "and poisonous creatures everywhere. And whether that can kill you in minutes. Maybe they will bring one of their great apes," a third voice speculated. "I saw footage once. Incredible strength. Aggressive when threatened." Derek kept his face blank. Let them speculate. Let them build up their expectations. The reveal would be even better if a delegate from the Kroth Dominion approached. Commander Roth was a scarred veteran with a reputation for brutality. His species believed in overwhelming force and showed mercy to no one. "Walsh," Roth said, his translator making his voice sound like grinding metal. "Your species has quite the reputation. I expect something impressive. Do not disappoint us. We will present what best represents humanity." Derek replied evenly. Roth laughed. "Cryptic. I like it. My species brought a void render. Perhaps you have heard of them? They can survive in hard vacuum. They feed on radiation. Nothing kills them easily." "Sounds formidable," Derek said. "It is. And it knows only loyalty to the Kroth through pain conditioning. Pain teaches. Pain ensures obedience." Roth leaned closer. "What methods do humans use?" "You will see," Derek said. Roth grunted and walked away. Yuki raised an eyebrow at Derek. "He's going to hate this," she said quietly. "Most of them will at first," Derek agreed. "But that is the point." The presentations continued through the day cycle. Each species tried to outdo the last. Bigger, meaner, more lethal. The arena floor had to be cleaned 3 times because of various bodily fluids and one small fire. Finally, as the station's artificial sun began its dimming cycle, the announcer called for the human delegation. Derek stood. He picked up the carrier beside his seat. It was a standard diplomatic transit container, the kind used for transporting documents or small equipment. Nothing special, nothing reinforced. Several delegates made confused noises. "That is your containment unit?" Braun asked, his translator carrying clear disbelief. "It is so small. It is adequate for our needs," Derek said. He walked to the presentation arena. Yuki followed, carrying a bag of equipment. The lighting focused on them. Hundreds of eyes, artificial and biological, watched with anticipation. Derek set the carrier down gently. He knelt beside it and opened the front gate. He reached inside. "Representing humanity," he said clearly, "I present our war beast." He withdrew his hand. Attached to his hand by a simple leash was a golden retriever. The dog trotted out of the carrier, looked around the massive hall with bright, curious eyes, and sat down. His tail wagged against the floor, making a soft thumping sound. His tongue hung out in what any human would recognize as a happy expression. The silence in the hall was absolute. Then it shattered. "What is this?" someone shouted. "A joke?" another voice demanded. "Is it a juvenile?" Braun asked, leaning forward in his seat. "Where is its war form?" Derek stood calmly while the room erupted in confusion. Beside him, the golden retriever, named Biscuit, continued wagging his tail, completely unbothered by the chaos. "This," Derek said loudly, waiting for the translators to catch up and the noise to die down, "is our war beast. Fully grown. Prime condition. And I will now demonstrate why." Yuki smiled and opened her equipment bag. This was going to be interesting. Biscuit looked up at Derek and wagged his tail harder. The sound echoed in the confused silence of the assembly hall. Somewhere in the back rows, a delegate made a noise that the translator interpreted as laughter. "Humans mock us," someone declared. "This is an insult to the summit." Derek held up his hand. "This is no insult. This is humanity's answer to warfare. Allow me to explain the first requirement. Combat capability." More confused muttering rippled through the crowd. Biscuit sniffed the air and turned his head toward a group of delegates who smelled particularly interesting. His tail kept wagging. "Your creature does not look threatening," Minister Quilsis said, tilting her insectoid head. "It appears friendly. Harmless even." "Appearances reveal only part of truth," Derek said. He gestured to Yuki, who activated a holographic display. "Combat capability is not always about teeth and claws. This is Biscuit. He is a working dog, specifically trained for military support." The display showed statistics. Height, weight, bite force, running speed. The numbers were not impressive compared to the monsters other species had presented. A few delegates made dismissive sounds. "Let me explain what Biscuit actually does," Derek continued. "In human military operations, dogs like him serve multiple roles. First, detection. His nose is 10,000 times more sensitive than human noses. He can smell explosives, chemical weapons, and hidden enemies from incredible distances. The display changed to show military scenarios. Biscuit and others like him working alongside human soldiers. Finding buried dangers. Alerting to ambushes. Tracking targets through complex terrain. Second, morale support, Derek said. Extended military campaigns break minds before they break bodies. Soldiers face stress, fear, and trauma. They need something to ground them, something to remind them why they fight and what they protect. On the display, soldiers petted dogs between patrols, slept near them in foxholes, smiled despite being covered in mud and exhaustion. The dogs provided something the aliens seemed to struggle understanding. Comfort, joy, peace in chaos. Your war beast provides emotional comfort. Braun asked, "How is this combat capability? A soldier with a broken mind cannot fight," Yuki interjected. Human military studies show that units with support animals perform 30% better in extended operations. They recover faster from traumatic events. They maintain unit cohesion longer. They fight harder because they have something pure to return to. She pulled up more data. Graphs showing mental health outcomes, performance metrics, success rates. The numbers told a story the aliens had never considered. Third, Derek said, protection through warning. Biscuit can hear frequencies humans cannot. He detects danger before we can. In combat zones, dogs like him have saved countless lives by alerting to threats seconds before they strike. A junior delegate from the Morvine cluster raised a tentacle hesitantly. But does not kill. It does not destroy. No, Derek admitted. But warfare is not just about destruction. It is about winning. And humans learned that winning requires keeping your forces healthy in body and mind. Biscuit is not a weapon. He is a force multiplier. Commander Roth stood up in his section. This is philosophy, not combat capability. You waste our time with feelings and comfort. War requires strength and fear. Derek met his eyes. Then you have never fought a long war. You have never seen soldiers break from stress while their bodies remain unharmed. You have never lost battles because your fighters could not maintain their spirit. The Croth do not break, Roth said coldly. Everyone breaks eventually, Derek countered. Humans just learned how to bend instead. And dogs like Biscuit are part of that flexibility. Before Roth could respond, Biscuit did something that changed the entire room. He walked forward on his own, not pulled by Derek's leash. He approached the nearest delegate, a Vreln warrior who had been watching silently. The Vreln froze. Biscuit sat down in front of the alien and looked up with bright eyes. His tail wagged. He was not afraid. He was not aggressive. He was simply friendly. What does it want? The Vreln asked nervously. Permission to pet him. Derek said, he likes meeting new people. The Vreln looked around as if asking for advice. Finally, slowly, he reached down with a clawed hand. He touched Biscuit's head gently. The dog's tail wagged faster. He leaned into the touch. The Vreln made a sound his translator could not interpret, but his body language changed. His tension melted. He petted Biscuit more confidently, and something like wonder crossed his alien features. It trusts me, the Vreln said quietly. I am a stranger, possibly a threat, yet it trusts. That is what makes dogs remarkable, Yuki said. They have evolved alongside humans for over 30,000 years. They read our emotions. They bond with us, and they extend that trust to our allies. Other delegates began moving forward. Minister Quilsa approached cautiously. May I? Derek nodded. Soon there was a small crowd around Biscuit. The dog accepted attention from insectoids, reptilians, mammalians, and species that defied easy categorization. He did not care about their appearance. He offered each one the same unconditional friendliness. A large delegate accidentally stepped on Biscuit's paw. The dog yelped and jumped back. Every alien froze, expecting aggression or fear. Instead, Biscuit looked at the delegate, tail still wagging, already forgiving the accident. The delegate made an apologetic gesture, and Biscuit approached again without hesitation. Incredible, Quilsa said. My warrior drones would have attacked after being hurt. This creature forgives instantly. Dogs hold grudges only against vacuum cleaners and sometimes the mail carrier, Derek said with a slight smile. They are remarkably generous with their affection. High Chancellor Brandt had moved closer without anyone noticing. He towered over Biscuit, a massive predatory being that could crush the dog without effort. Biscuit looked up at him and wagged his tail. It shows no fear, Brandt observed. Because Derek is here, Yuki explained. Biscuit trusts his human partner to protect him. That is the bond we will explain next. The control mechanism. Control? Brandt repeated. He looked at Biscuit receiving pets from a dozen different species. I see no control, no fear, no conditioning. How do you make it obey? Derek smiled. That is the second demonstration, and I promise you will find it even more surprising than the first. He called Biscuit back with a simple word. The dog immediately disengaged from the crowd and trotted to Derek's side. He sat without being told and looked up at his handler with complete attention. N. O shock collar. No neural implant. No chemical control. Just a word and a relationship. Yuki stepped forward while the delegates returned to their seats. Many kept glancing at Biscuit with new curiosity. The dog sat calmly beside Derek, his attention focused completely on his handler. The second requirement is control mechanism, Yuki announced. Every species here has shown how they control their war beasts. Neural implants, pain conditioning, pheromone manipulation, chemical dependence, genetic programming. She paused and looked around the hall. Humans use none of these methods. Impossible, Commander Roth called out. A beast requires domination. Without control, it becomes a liability. We agree that control is necessary, Yuki said. We simply achieve it differently. Derek, please demonstrate basic commands. Derek looked down at Biscuit. Sit. Biscuit was already sitting, so he just wagged his tail. Down, Derek said. Biscuit laid down on the floor, resting his head on his paws. His eyes stayed on Derek. Stay, Derek said. He walked 20 feet away. Biscuit remained in place, completely still except for his eyes tracking Derek's movement. Derek waited a full minute. Biscuit did not move. Derek waited another minute. Still no movement. Come, Derek finally called. Biscuit exploded into motion, running to Derek with obvious joy. He sat in front of his handler and wagged his tail so hard his entire back half shook. Good boy, Derek said warmly, scratching behind Biscuit's ears. The room remained quiet. Minister Quilsa finally spoke. I see obedience. But where is the control device? Where is the punishment for disobedience? There is none, Derek said simply. Then how? Behold demanded. My Titan claw obeys because disobedience means pain. Your creature obeys because why? Because he wants to, Yuki said. Because cooperation brings reward. Because his relationship with Derek is built on trust and positive reinforcement. She activated another holographic display. It showed human history with dogs. Images spanning thousands of years. Humans and dogs hunting together, guarding together, working together, living together. Humans domesticated dogs over 30,000 years ago, Yuki explained. We did not enslave them. We formed a partnership. We evolved together. Dogs learned to read human facial expressions better than any other species on Earth. Humans learned to understand dog body language and vocalizations. We shaped each other. This is not control, Roth insisted. This is dependence. Weakness. Watch, Derek said. He unclipped Biscuit's leash completely. Biscuit, you are free. Go. Biscuit looked at the open space. He could run anywhere, explore the massive hall, investigate all the interesting smells and beings. He looked back at Derek. Then he sat down beside Derek's leg and leaned against him. He chooses to stay, Yuki said quietly. No leash, no restraint, no punishment for leaving. He stays because he wants to be with his human. A Morvine delegate made a soft sound. That is beautiful. But how do you train such devotion? Patience, Derek said. Time. Consistency. We teach dogs that good behavior brings rewards. Play. Food. Affection. We never use fear or pain. Studies show that positive training creates more reliable obedience than punishment-based methods. Prove it, Roth challenged. Remove the reward. Stop giving affection. See if it still obeys. Derek looked at the Croth commander. That would be cruel and unnecessary. Why would I damage my relationship with Biscuit to prove a point? Because real control does not depend on kindness, Roth said. Real partnership does, Yuki countered. Derek, show them release word training. Derek nodded. He looked at Biscuit. Okay. Immediately, Biscuit relaxed. He stopped sitting at attention and started sniffing the floor. He wandered a few feet away, exploring. He was clearly released from working mode. That single word tells him he is off duty, Derek explained. He can do what he wants now. Watch what he chooses. Biscuit sniffed around for a minute. He investigated a corner. He looked at the delegates with friendly interest. Then he walked back to Derek and sat beside him again, looking up at his handler's face. He could go anywhere, Yuki said. Yet he returns. This is not control through fear. This is relationship. Minister Quilsa approached the presentation area again. May I ask him to perform commands? Derek considered. He knows me best, but we can try. Biscuit is trained to respond to other people in some situations. Quilsa stepped closer. Her insectoid appearance was completely alien to Earth mammals. Her voice through the translator was mechanical and strange. She tried the command. Sit. Biscuit looked at Derek. Derek nodded. Biscuit's Saturday. He checks with you first, Quilsa observed. Why? Because I am his person, Derek said. His primary partner. He is friendly to everyone, but I am his responsibility just as he is mine. He wants my approval. This is loyalty, Brant said slowly. True loyalty, not enforced obedience. Yes, Yuki agreed. And that is what makes it powerful. A war beast controlled by pain will turn on you the moment the pain stops. A war beast controlled by loyalty will die protecting you. She pulled up combat footage. Human soldiers with military dogs in dangerous situations. The dogs stayed with their handlers even when explosions occurred nearby, even when they could flee to safety. They stayed because the bond was stronger than fear. One video showed a dog named Storm who had alerted to an ambush, then positioned himself between enemies and his injured handler. The dog had been wounded, but kept fighting until reinforcements arrived. Both dog and handler survived. Storm received no punishment for potentially retreating, Yuki explained. He received the highest military honors our species gives to animals, because he chose to stay. That choice means everything. Another delegate asked, "What happens if the dog refuses commands?" "Then we evaluate why," Derek said. "Sometimes dogs refuse because they sense danger we miss. Sometimes they are injured or sick. Sometimes we gave unclear signals. We problem solve together rather than punish." He demonstrated. He gave Biscuit a complex command in an unclear way. Biscuit tilted his head, confused. Derek tried again, more clearly. Biscuit performed it perfectly. Derek praised him enthusiastically. "Communication is partnership," Yuki said, "not domination." Roth stood again. "This is all very touching. But in real combat, when life or death is decided in seconds, you need absolute obedience. No questions. No hesitation. Dogs give us that," Derek said calmly. "But they give it through trust, not terror. And because it comes from trust, it never wavers. Your pain-conditioned beasts will break eventually. They will find the limit of pain they can endure. Our dogs have no such limit because love is stronger than fear." He knelt beside Biscuit and looked at the assembly. 30,000 years ago, humans and wolves made a deal. We would share our fires and food. They would share their strength and senses. We both gained more together than we had apart. That deal became the strongest bond between species in human history. And that bond is what we bring to war. Biscuit leaned against Derek and licked his face. Derek laughed and petted him. The pure affection between them needed no translator. Derek stood and faced the assembly again. Biscuit remained by his side, relaxed but attentive. The room had settled into focused attention. Even the skeptical delegates were listening now. "The third requirement," Derek began, "is a psychological warfare value. This is where human war philosophy truly differs from everyone else here." Yuki activated a new set of displays. They showed war zones, battlefields, forward operating bases in hostile territory. And in every image, dogs were present. "Other species use their war beasts to terrorize enemies," Derek said, "to inspire fear, to break enemy morale through intimidation. We understand that approach. We respect its effectiveness." He gestured to Biscuit. "But humans learn something different through thousands of years of warfare. The side that maintains hope usually wins. The side that remembers what they are fighting for stays stronger longer." Biscuit represents that philosophy. "How does a friendly creature provide psychological warfare?" a delegate asked. "By maintaining humanity in inhuman conditions," Yuki answered. She highlighted specific footage. Soldiers exhausted after weeks of combat, sitting in muddy trenches, sharing rations with dogs. Soldiers laughing despite being surrounded by danger, because a dog was doing something silly. Soldiers crying while hugging dogs, releasing trauma in a way they could not do with other humans. "War tries to strip away everything that makes you who you are," Derek explained. "It replaces identity with survival instinct. It turns people into machines. But machines break. They burn out. They stop functioning." He knelt and called Biscuit over. The dog came immediately, tail wagging. "Dogs remind us that we are more than warriors. We are humans who love, who laugh, who protect. Dogs need us, and that need gives us purpose beyond killing." The display changed to show statistical data. Mental health outcomes for soldiers with and without animal support. The differences were dramatic. Lower rates of trauma disorders, faster recovery times, better long-term adjustment after returning from combat. Soldiers who spend time with dogs maintain their mental flexibility, Yuki said. They process stress better. They support each other more effectively. They remember why they fight. Not from abstract concepts like duty or honor, but from simple moments of joy and connection. Bront leaned forward in his seat. You're describing survival mechanisms. Coping methods, not warfare. They're the same thing, Derek countered. The Thurian Empire has fought the Corvan rebels for 12 years now. Both sides have superior technology, superior training, equal determination. Yet the war continues because neither side can maintain long campaigns without psychological collapse. You rotate troops constantly because they break. Bront's expression was unreadable, but he did not deny it. Humans fight differently, Derek continued. We bring life into death zones. We bring joy into horror. And we do it because we learned that the mind breaks before the body. Always. Commander Roth made a disgusted noise. You coddle your soldiers. Make them soft. The Croth would never. The Croth lost the Sector 7 conflict precisely because of this. Yuki interrupted sharply. Your forces held every strategic advantage. But after 6 months, your soldiers started showing severe psychological deterioration. They made mistakes. They turned on each other. Your command structure fractured. Roth's silence confirmed the truth of her words. We studied that conflict, Yuki continued. Human military analysis concluded that the Croth could have won if they had maintained force cohesion. But your pain conditioning philosophy works both ways. Your soldiers endure pain to control beasts. They endure pain to prove strength. Eventually, they become numb to everything, including their own survival instinct. Humans are not superior warriors, Derek added. Many species here are stronger, faster, more naturally suited to combat. But we understood one truth that changed everything. The strongest weapon is the one that never breaks. And minds maintained with compassion and purpose do not break easily. He showed more footage. Human bases in long conflicts. Dogs were everywhere, playing with soldiers during downtime, sleeping beside them, providing comfort without judgment, offering uncomplicated love in complicated situations. See this soldier. Derek pointed to a specific image. That is Private Lee. She spent 8 months in a contested zone, saw heavy combat daily, lost friends, had every reason to break. But she spent every evening with a dog named Buddy. That 30 minutes of simple peace kept her functional. She completed her deployment successfully and returned home healthy. Now see this. Yuki switched to different footage. This is a Croth soldier from the same time period. No support systems, only conditioning and duty. He completed 4 months before psychological collapse. He attacked his own squad members. Your military had to remove him. Isolated incident, Roth muttered, but his voice lacked conviction. We have hundreds of comparison studies, Yuki said. The pattern is consistent. Humans maintain operational capacity longer than any other species in extended conflicts. Not because we are tougher, because we are smarter about maintaining what makes us functional. Minister Quilsa spoke up. The Quillet Collective has fought for survival for 6 generations. Our warrior drones are bred for combat. Yet we struggle with campaigns lasting longer than 3 years. Our drones begin to malfunction psychologically despite biological conditioning. We assumed this was unavoidable. It is not, Derek said. We can share our research, help you develop programs suited to your species. Humans do not believe in keeping this knowledge exclusive. Why? Bront asked bluntly. Why share military advantages? Because unnecessary suffering offends us, Yuki said simply. And because stronger allies make us all safer. If the Quilla Collective can maintain longer campaigns, they defend their borders better. That stability benefits everyone. A junior delegate stood hesitantly. I have a question. When enemies see that humans bring animals to war zones, does it make humans seem weak? Do enemies exploit this perceived softness? Derek smiled grimly. They try. Once. Then they realized the truth. He showed combat footage. Human soldiers fighting with absolute determination. Not mindless aggression, but focused competence. And when one soldier fell wounded, others protected them with fierce intensity. Enemies who think kindness equals weakness misunderstand humans completely, Derek said. We bring dogs to war because we refuse to become monsters. But that same philosophy makes us terrifyingly effective at protecting what we love. Soldiers with something precious to defend fight harder than soldiers with only orders to follow. Another video showed human forces defending a base. They fought with tactical brilliance, covering each other perfectly, making no wasted movements. And when the battle ended, they returned to their animals, releasing the violence and reclaiming their humanity. That is the psychological warfare value, Yuki concluded. We do not break. We do not burn out. We maintain operational capacity indefinitely because we never lose sight of who we are. And that makes us more dangerous than any species that relies on fear and pain. Biscuit chose that moment to yawn widely, completely relaxed despite being surrounded by alien predators and discussions of warfare. Several delegates made sounds that might have been laughter. Even now, Derek said, Biscuit demonstrates the philosophy. He does not fear because he trusts. And that trust creates strength that no amount of conditioning can match. Commander Roth stood abruptly. His movement was aggressive enough that several delegates flinched. He strode toward the presentation arena, his footsteps heavy and deliberate. Enough, he said. Enough speeches and videos and philosophy. You speak of trust and partnership as if they matter in real combat. Prove it. Derek met his gaze calmly. What do you propose? A test, Roth said. Real conditions. Real stress. Not theoretical discussions. He gestured toward the back of the hall, where the war beast containment area was located. My void render against your dog. 10 minutes in the arena. We will see which philosophy survives. The hall erupted in shocked voices. Derek's expression went cold. No, that is barbarism, not demonstration. Afraid, Roth challenged. Protective, Derek corrected sharply. Biscuit is my partner, not a disposable test subject. I will not risk his life to satisfy your bloodlust. Roth sneered. As I thought, your philosophy fails when actual danger appears. You hide behind words because your methods cannot survive reality. High Chancellor Brandt raised his hand, silencing the growing chaos. Commander Roth makes a crude point, but perhaps a valid one. Walsh, you claim your methods are superior, yet you have shown only peaceful conditions. Because war beasts are not entertainment, Derek replied. Agreed, Brandt said. However, the summit requires demonstrating capability under stress. I propose an alternative test. He looked between Derek and Roth. Not combat. A simulation of extended campaign stress. Both war beasts will be observed under identical, difficult conditions. We measure psychological stability, handler relationship, and operational functionality. Derek considered. What kind of conditions? The station has military training facilities, Braun explained. We can simulate prolonged stress. Loud noises. Confined spaces. Separated handler contact. Sleep deprivation for handlers. Random stress events. 6 hours duration. Non-violent, but genuinely difficult. 6 hours is insufficient to demonstrate, Derek began. Then we continue until one beast or handler fails, Brandt interrupted. Or until both prove their capability. Yuki stepped close to Derek and whispered urgently. They conferred for a moment. Derek looked down at Biscuit, who wagged his tail happily, completely unaware of the tension. Agreed, Derek finally said. But I require specific conditions. No physical harm to either animal. Medical monitoring throughout. Immediate halt if genuine danger appears. Acceptable, Brandt said. He looked at Roth. Commander? Roth smiled unpleasantly. My void render will show your dog what real strength means. Without breaking a single bone. 2 hours later, the simulation facility was prepared. It consisted of 2 identical chambers separated by a transparent barrier. Each chamber had areas for noise generation, environmental changes, and controlled stress events. Medical scanners monitored both war beasts continuously. Delegates filled the observation area. Many had called other species representatives to witness. Word had spread through the station. The human war philosophy was being tested. Derek entered his chamber with Biscuit. He reviewed the rules one final time. Handlers would experience sleep deprivation and stress. They could not directly interact with their beasts for most of the test. Only brief check-ins were allowed every 90 minutes. The war beasts had to maintain stability independently. In the adjacent chamber, Roth entered with his void render. The creature was massive and angular, with mottled gray skin that seemed to absorb light. Its eyes glowed faintly red. It paced the chamber restlessly, clearly uncomfortable in the confined space. Beginning simulation, the facility controller announced. Phase 1. Environmental stress. The lights in both chambers began flickering irregularly. Random loud noises erupted from hidden speakers. Metallic banging, explosions, screaming. The sounds of warfare. Biscuit's ears flattened briefly. He looked at Derek with concern. Derek gave him a hand signal they had practiced. Calm. Safe. Biscuit's tail gave a tentative wag. He settled near Derek's feet, still alert but not panicking. The void render reacted differently. It roared and slammed against the chamber walls. Its bioluminescent markings flared brightly. Roth shouted commands in his own language, reinforced with a control device on his wrist. Phase 2. Separation, the controller said. Handlers to isolation areas. Derek and Roth moved to small enclosed spaces within their chambers, separated from their war beasts by barriers. They could see their animals, but not reach them. Biscuit watched Derek leave. He whined once. Then he lay down, keeping his eyes fixed on where Derek had gone. His body language showed stress, but not panic. He waited. The void render bellowed when Roth disappeared. It crashed against the barrier repeatedly, trying to reach its handler. Its movements became more frantic. Roth's voice came through speakers, giving commands. The creature slowed but continued pacing aggressively. Hours passed. The simulation intensified. Temperature fluctuations. More sounds. Simulated tremors shaking the chambers. Brief moments of complete darkness followed by blinding light. During the first check-in at 90 minutes, Derek emerged briefly. Biscuit rushed to him, tail wagging frantically. Derek knelt and let the dog lick his face. He checked Biscuit's physical condition, offered water, spoke calmly. "Good boy," Derek said. "You're doing so well. Just a bit longer." When Derek returned to isolation, Biscuit watched him go, but settled back down. His stress was visible, but manageable. Roth's check-in was different. The void render approached aggressively. Roth had to use his control device to stop it from attacking him. The pain conditioning created obedience, but the creature's eyes showed confusion and fear. Roth spoke harshly, reasserted dominance, and returned to isolation. By hour 3, the differences were dramatic. Biscuit remained stressed but stable. He slept during quiet periods. He stayed calm during loud ones. His trust in Derek remained solid even without Derek's physical presence. The void render deteriorated. Its movements became erratic. It injured itself slightly by repeatedly hitting the barriers. Its bioluminescence flickered irregularly. Roth commands became more frequent and more desperate. Hour 4. During another check-in, Biscuit greeted Derek with the same enthusiasm as the first time. His tail wagged. He leaned against Derek. He was tired, but okay. The void render barely responded to Roth anymore. It had exhausted itself. When Roth approached, it lunged. Not aggressively, but desperately. Seeking comfort it had never been taught to ask for. Roth had to use maximum pain setting to regain control. Medical alarms triggered. The void render's stress levels were approaching dangerous territory. Its heart rate was erratic. Its body temperature unstable. Recommend terminating test, the medical observer announced. The Croth war beast is approaching physiological failure. No, Roth said. Continue. Commander, Bront said from the observation area. Your beast is suffering. It will endure, Roth insisted. The Croth do not surrender. This is not about surrender, Yuki said quietly. This is about understanding your animal's limits. At hour 5, the situation became critical. The void render collapsed in its chamber. Its breathing was rapid and shallow. Its eyes showed the whites, a universal sign of extreme distress. Roth emerged from isolation and approached his beast. The void render, in its panic and pain, did something that shocked everyone. It attacked Roth, not with full force, not trying to kill, but lashing out in confused desperation. Its claw caught Roth's shoulder, tearing through armor. Roth fell backward, bleeding. Medical teams rushed in immediately. They sedated the void render and treated Roth. The commander sat on the floor of his chamber, staring at his war beast. The creature that had been conditioned to obey absolutely had broken under stress. In the adjacent chamber, Derek sat with Biscuit. The dog rested his head on Derek's lap, tired but calm. When medical personnel entered to check on them, Biscuit greeted them with a tired tail wag. The test was over, and everyone in the observation area understood what they had witnessed. The assembly hall reconvened 8 hours after the test ended. Commander Roth sat in his delegation section with bandaged shoulder. His void render was in medical containment, sedated and recovering. The creature would survive, but the psychological damage would take longer to heal than the physical exhaustion. Derek entered with Biscuit walking calmly beside him. The dog had eaten, slept, and was back to his normal happy self. He looked around the hall with interest, tail wagging at familiar faces. High Chancellor Brandt called the session to order. His massive frame seemed somehow less intimidating than before. Perhaps witnessing genuine partnership had changed perspectives. We have observed both demonstrations, Brandt said formally. We have seen theory in practice. We have seen philosophy tested under genuine stress. The Council will now discuss implications. A delegate Derek did not recognize stood. A move that humanity's presentation be recognized as valid and revolutionary. Their approach to war beasts represents a paradigm shift in military animal utilization. Seconded, Minister Quilsa said immediately. Her compound eyes focused on Biscuit with clear fascination. The Quillet Collective requests formal consultation with human specialists. Our warrior drones suffer psychological deterioration in extended campaigns. We need to learn these methods. More voices joined. Species after species requested information, partnerships, and cultural exchanges. The mood had completely transformed from skepticism to genuine interest. Brandt raised his hand for silence. Before we proceed, I believe Commander Roth wishes to speak. Everyone turned to the Croth commander. Roth stood slowly, clearly in pain from his injury. His expression was difficult to read. I was wrong, Roth said simply. The words seemed to cost him greatly. I believe strength came only through domination, through pain and fear, through forcing absolute obedience. He looked at Derek. Your dog remained stable while my void render broke. Not because your dog is stronger, because your dog never questioned his purpose or his relationship with you. My beast obeyed because pain taught it to. Your beast cooperated because trust taught it to. Roth paused, struggling with the admission. When the void render attacked me, it was not rebellion. It was desperation. I had never taught it to seek comfort, only to fear punishment. Under enough stress, fear became useless, and it had nothing else to guide it. Your beast is not at fault, Derek said quietly. It was taught wrong. That can be changed with patience and new methods. Can it? Roth asked. Can something conditioned through pain learn to trust? Yes, Derek said firmly. It takes time, but animals are remarkably forgiving. Humans have rehabilitated abused dogs before. They learn that not all humans hurt them. They learn to trust again. Roth looked at Biscuit. The golden retriever wagged his tail. May I approach your dog? Derek nodded. Roth walked slowly to the presentation area. He knelt with difficulty because of his injury. Biscuit studied him for a moment, then approached cautiously. The dog sniffed Roth's bandaged shoulder gently. I hurt you before with my words, Roth said, speaking to Biscuit but meaning it for Derek. I called your philosophy weakness. I was wrong. Biscuit licked Roth's hand. The simple gesture of forgiveness affected the hardened warrior visibly. His voice cracked slightly. The Croth Dominion has bred violence into our war beasts for generations. We thought it made us strong. Instead, it made us cruel. He looked up at Derek. Will you help us learn better methods? If you genuinely want to change, yes, Derek said, but it requires patience, kindness, giving up the satisfaction of domination. After seeing what I saw today, Roth said, domination seems empty. Your dog trusted you through hours of stress. My beast attacked me, which is truly obedient. He stood and returned to his seat. The hall remained silent for a moment, processing the significance of a Croth commander admitting error. High Chancellor Bront spoke again. The Thurian Empire also requests human consultation. Our Titan claws serve us well, but we lose many handlers to their aggression. Perhaps there is a better way. There is always a better way, Yuki said. Humans spent thousands of years learning to partner with dogs. We made many mistakes, tried many methods. Eventually, we understood that cooperation is stronger than coercion. A young Morvine delegate raised a tentacle shyly. May I ask a question? Of course, Derek said. Could other species learn a bond with dogs too? Or is this only possible for humans? Biscuit answered before Derek could. The dog walked to the Morvine delegate and sat in front of them, tail wagging. The delegate reached out hesitantly and petted Biscuit's head. The dog leaned into the touch. Dogs bond with anyone who treats them with kindness, Derek explained. They are remarkably adaptable. They have worked with human children, human adults, humans with disabilities. They do not care about status or appearance, only about relationship. That is wonderful, the Morvine delegate said softly, still petting Biscuit. We are not warriors. We have no war beasts because we cannot bear cruelty. But this kind of partnership we could learn. Humans would be honored to teach any species interested in building these relationships, Yuki said. We believe the galaxy becomes safer when all species understand cooperation over domination. Minister Quilsa spoke up. I propose a galactic initiative for animal partnership. Human experts would visit member species. We study their needs and capabilities. We develop programs suited to each species' unique situation. Seconded, multiple voices called out. Bront nodded slowly. The council will vote on this formally, but I expect it will pass unanimously. This summit was meant to assess military capability. Instead, it may change how we approach warfare entirely. That was always humanity's goal, Derek said. Not to prove superiority, to share what we have learned through hard experience. War is terrible. Anything that reduces unnecessary suffering serves everyone. The session continued with practical discussions. Which species would request consultation first? How human trainers would be selected? What safety protocols were needed? The conversation had shifted from competition to cooperation. As delegates filed out hours later, many stopped to meet Biscuit one more time. The dog greeted each with the same enthusiastic friendliness. He did not care about species politics or military philosophy. He just enjoyed meeting new friends. Commander Roth was among the last to leave. He paused beside Derek. When your experts come to the Croth Dominion, I will personally ensure they are protected and respected. This I promise. Thank you, Derek said. And Commander? Your void render can heal. Given time and patience, it can learn trust. It is never too late. Roth nodded and left without another word. Derek and Yuki prepared to depart Station Harmony. Derek knelt beside Biscuit and scratched the dog's ears. You did well, buddy. Very well. You showed them something they had never seen. Biscuit wagged his tail, pleased with the praise, but having no idea he had become the most famous war beast in the galaxy. As their transport departed, Yuki reviewed messages flooding in from dozens of species. Requests for information, invitations to visit, questions about training methods. The summit had achieved far more than they had hoped. Earth will be pleased, Yuki said. Earth will be amazed, Derek corrected. We brought a dog to a war beast competition and accidentally started a galactic movement toward compassionate animal partnership. Biscuit curled up in his travel carrier, exhausted but content. Through the viewport, stars streamed past as they journeyed home. In the weeks that followed, the summit's impact spread through the Galactic Council. Videos of Biscuit went viral across thousands of worlds. Species that had never considered animals as partners began researching Earth's methods. The phrase war beast gradually gave way to partner animal in official documentation. The Quilla Collective was first to implement changes. Within a year, their warrior drone program included psychological support protocols. Mortality rates dropped 30%. The Thurian Empire began retraining Titan Claw handlers using positive reinforcement. Handlers stopped dying from their own war beasts. Even the Croth Dominion, slowly and painfully, began changing their approach. Commander Roth personally oversaw the rehabilitation of void renders using human consultation. Progress was slow, but it was progress. And through it all, humans share their knowledge freely. Because they understood that a galaxy where animals were partners rather than slaves was a galaxy worth fighting for. And sometimes the greatest weapon was not the one that inspired the most fear, but the one that inspired the most hope. Biscuit never knew he had changed galactic civilization. He just knew he had a good human, plenty of treats, and occasionally got to meet interesting new friends. For a good boy, that was enough.